Welcome along to the Registered Master Builders podcast. On the podcast today we have an interview with Darrell Trigg of Trigg Construction. Of course, he is also the National President of the Registered Master Builders, and in this Q&A interview that I did with him at a recent workshop, he gives us some insights on things like the importance of personal goals, why he feels like lugging 20 kilos of equipment up the world's highest buildings is a really good thing for him to do, his view on the tendering model and why he thinks it's flawed, how you should get your fair share of the work even though you might predominantly operate in a tender environment. He's also been involved in acquiring one of the biggest construction projects to hit the northern region that is going to have a huge impact on the community and also the tourism in the region. He talks to us about why focus in business is so critical. If you try to do too many things, you can fail, how he chose his focus and the outcome that has been for him. We've been connected with Darrell via our program for a little over a year. Yeah. And we've found really great alignment with how Darrell runs not only his personal aspects and views on life, but also the business view as well. So I thought maybe in terms of getting the audience to know you a little bit more, Darrell, let's start with the personal. You know, one of our mantras at Breakthrough is the health, family and work.
Yep.
Give us your insights. How do you think about the health piece and what are some of the personal goals you pursue?
Yeah, so thanks very much. So we've got a small construction company up north, but I've got one daughter and my wife who's in the business, who's an integral part of the business as well. And one of the things that, many years ago, we don't do residential anymore, but many years ago I did a job when I was on the tools. It was 7 days a week, just on a promise that someone was going to get these guys in. I was labour only, and I worked 7 days a week for however long to get it done, and worked out that I was getting $3 an hour, but I didn't know what day it was or never saw the kids or whatever. So from that day forward, one of the values that we've held true in our business is no Saturday work, no Sunday work. So all of our projects, however long, we program them on a 5-day week. And then like a bit further on, I suppose, with the personal stuff and the health and that, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was about 10 or 15 kilos heavier, and I've been in the fire service as a volunteer firefighter for about 30 years now, and I was quite a bit heavier than I am now, and I firefighter stair climbing. So this Saturday is the Sky Tower, which raises money for leukemia, blood cancer. My brother had been going for 2 years to New York to climb 3 World Trade Center, and so I sort of said to him, well, how can we get in on this? And I said, can he get me in? Because he was good mates with the guy who started up. Said, yep. So I just got straight off the phone, bought 2 tickets to New York for Marlene and myself, and that's where it all sort of started in earnest. So we just, and for me, it's really important, because what it does is it keeps me going back to the gym, because if you want to climb stairs and you don't do any work for it, you just get hammered.
Things get ugly very quickly.
Yeah.
How much gear? So when you climb, you're in full firefighter?
Yeah,
kit?
it's around about 20 kilos worth of gear. But it's more the heat. Like last year, it was 50 degrees C in the tower. It was the hottest day in New York in 6 years. So it was pretty tough. But we just come back on the 4th of May. We climbed 3 World Trade Center, and then we flew up to Calgary and climbed the Bow Tower in Calgary on the 5th of May. So it was pretty cool.
So World Trade Center, how long are we talking? How long is the
it's twice the height of the Sky Tower, so it's 80 odd floors or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how long does that take?
It took 33 minutes or something. Yeah.
And so where's the dark zone when you're doing that? Is it like if you're doing 80 floors, you get to 15 floors and everything's burning and you're getting hot and you're like, whoa, how do I keep going? Where's the zone where it's most challenging? Before
you start.
Right.
No, no. I think it's what I've adopted with it is they're just stairs, and if you keep climbing, so a lot of guys, like we were climbing the Bow Tower and the World Trade Center, and there was these 2 young, probably 23-year-old kids that had an air pack on, but they were paramedics, so they were in civvies and that. And I got the flu just before we climbed the first one, and we were sort of hanging out. But they stopped, and every 5 floors I caught up with them.
Right.
So all we do is just So my strategy is just get to the next landing and just get to the next landing.
Yep.
If you look at the stairs, that beats you.
Yeah, right.
So so it's just get to the next landing and get to the next one. If you do that enough, they stop turning up in front of you. Yeah,
and why do you keep going back to it?
Because I enjoy it, because of the people, and because it keeps me fit. You know, it's a target that we do probably about. We've just done 2. There's another one this Saturday, and then probably 2 more for the year. So one in Sydney, one in Melbourne.
Okay.
But I mean, to put it in context, I'll do the Sky Tower this weekend in probably 17 minutes, and the fastest Sky's about 8. So
in firefighter kit?
Yeah, in full kit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not fast. I don't.
Yeah. Getting it done.
Yeah. My strategy is survival.
Yeah. Nice. And is there any other aspirational towers for you around the world that you'd like to climb?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's the stair climbing thing is probably like a lot of things, and you know, around they're all over the show. So we can go to New Orleans. You know, there's all sorts of places you can go. But the ultimate, I suppose, is the World Trade Center. When the 2 World Trade Center towers came down, they were 110 floors. So the idea is the firefighters that are climbing up, they're actually just climbing up to go to work. So they're carrying hose packs and all that, plug them into the floor and start work. So ultimately 110 would be the goal. Right. You know, that would be the ultimate, because that's what the Twin Towers were. Yep. So the One World Trade's 110 floors. The others are about 80, 72, whatever. Yeah.
And tell us about the camaraderie of the firefighters. So you're, I assume there's firefighters from all around the world travelling to these events and connecting. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's you know, I don't know whether you could call it one of the world's biggest clubs or whatever, but you can pretty much go anywhere as a firefighter and sort of knock into someone and say g'day. You know, we sort of called in with the World Trade Center climb. Yeah, there's 343 firefighters that died when the Twin Towers came down. The first guy that actually died was hit by someone falling from the building. So there's 343 of us that climb, and you climb with a tag for someone. Right. Yeah. Wow. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. You know, it's pretty cool. But you just meet. There's people from. There's even some Aussies there. There's some.
We let Aussies do it.
I don't know. Yeah, apparently. Look, there's people come from all over the world, from Prague, from the UK, from all over the show. So, and you meet someone new every time. Yep. You know, mates every time. And Canada was the same. You know, we met a whole bunch of people up there. You've all sort of got that same common fear that you have at the start, and then you crack it at the top, and away you go. Yeah.
Cool. And how have you found those personal goals or the barriers you have to get past in your stair climbs? How have they transferred into your work environment?
I think just that determination to get it done. You know, that I'm a bit more of a big picture thinker, but the discipline of getting stuff done has helped out. Yeah.
Yep, chunking stuff down, finding the next landing, essentially.
Pretty much,
the next landing in the business world as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Darrell, give us a bit of background. How did you start in construction? Give us a little bit of insight into the journey so far.
Yeah, so I basically did my apprenticeship in Whangarei with a local company who did commercial and residential, and sort of really enjoyed that, and just went out and did labour only carpentry for a house building company. And then sort of went from there, really. We just started doing stuff, and I've never ever really wanted to do things, you know, like we were in the Yellow Pages for a while, but I've always wanted to be different, not be in a pack. So when we were in the Yellow Pages, I was the first one to put my mugshot on there, which is probably not a good thing for a business, but I did it. But we were always the first call that people made looking for a house, because they could talk to someone. So, you know, like... So it was stuff like that. Then we just got out of the Yellow Pages because didn't want to be in a list, and slowly we did things just differently, I suppose.
And there's lots of, you know, construction's a very broad landscape. You can do lots of different things. Yep. How have you thought about going? Do we do residential? Do we do commercial? Do we do maintenance? Do we do renovation? How have you decided what to focus on?
Yeah, so we did for years. We've done residential and sort of light commercial and all that. Probably about 5 years ago, I think, I had probably from 2005 a bit of a business plan that we wanted to be out of residential, and in the provinces it's tough. You've got to take what, you know, is in front of you and do what you can, but we made the decision probably a good 5 years ago to focus only on commercial, Commercial I quite like because it's not an emotional transaction, as residential is, and I know there's plenty of people in there that do residential, and we had no problem with it. But commercial is very objective, and so we made the decision, and we had a whole lot of House of the Year awards on the office wall, and that we threw the whole lot out. Threw them in a bin and said, right, that's our past life, let's get on with a new one. But there was also a target where the Hundavasa Arts Centre, which is, I'm not sure if any of you have driven through.
Give us the background on that project overall and kind of how it came to be in the district.
So that was part of the real reason or one of the reasons that we wanted to focus on commercial. Was this project was a once in a lifetime opportunity for any company globally to build the Hundavasa Arts Centre. So from what I understand, he's a Vienna artist, and the Kawakawa toilets, if any of you have gone through up north, he built that, he was part of that physically himself. So he designed this. It was his last design, only for the city of Whangarei, and it took 25 years, I think, to bring it to fruition. They raised 27 million in 2 years to get it underway, the project proper, and we really wanted to be part of it. So we rebranded, we re-get our website to be just commercial only. We sought, probably one of the great things that we have in the provinces is the urban drift out of Auckland, people wanting to just move up or sort of semi-retire or whatever. So we target, we've got a commercial QS and project managers and all that that were moving anyway. And so our whole focus was commercial, and we would do residential buildings, but only on a commercial scale. So one client, like Housing New Zealand or whoever, if it ever came about, Okay. So the Hundavasa Arts Centre was the real target, and we geared ourselves up to get it, and we got it at tender. We got it.
And tender, it's a nature of construction.
Yes.
But it comes with a lot of challenge. When you think about tender, what are the things that you think about when you think about tender?
Yeah. So I still believe that tendering's a flawed process, but it's the way
Why do you think it's flawed?
Oh, it's a race to the start line. So if I used to say to people in residential, whatever you do, I can guarantee that you're going to be building with an honest builder. Do you want to find out whether they're honest at the beginning or the end? And we're honest at the beginning, which means the price is a bit more because everything's in there. But typically tendering is about, procuring by price. So everyone's going to leave whatever they can out to get the job. So it's not the best procurement model, but people think it's the right way to do stuff. If we get three prices, one's high, one's low, we'll take the middle. But it doesn't really reflect exactly what's going to happen on site, which is where all the problems come from. So
when you're, sometimes you just cannot avoid the tender model in construction. It's the way it is, and you say no to every tender, you'd probably have not enough business. So what work do you try and do, around relationship building and being involved? What do you try to do prior to the actual tender coming out? Yeah,
there's two parts to it. So we'll talk a bit later about what what our preferred mode is, but. And tendering now, I think, in the government are looking at it more as weighted attributes. So that like when we, the Dunedin Hospital is getting like it's $1 billion job or whatever, and they're basically, I think there's about 5 to 10% of the points are on price, and the other 90-odd% of the points are on, the team and the people and who you actually, the experience, who you're going to be dealing with, what's their capability, because the price is a direct reflection of content and capability. So that's sort of the preferred way, but that's still a tender, like the Hundavasa, why we had a crack at it was that 15% of the points were on price, the other 85 were on team, and that's where we put our efforts into.
Right. But you
good
had to
team,
build
good methodology, and Yeah. So
you had to build it. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
You had to build all that capability in advance. So you knew that was coming up. You knew that was what it was going to be rated on. You really wanted to win the project, but you had to play a long game about that project, right? Bringing those people in, getting really focused around the commercial. So there's a lot of preparation that you did prior to the start line.
Yep. Damn right, yep.
And give us some insight, the scale of that project, what stage is it at the moment, when's completion, how big do we think it's going to be?
So it's I suppose by dollar value, it's by far the biggest project we've been involved with. It's about $18 million, but it's spread over 30 months. So we started in June 18 and we'll finish in December 2020. And we've had a few, it's interesting because we've had a few hold-ups which creates a delay, and there's contractual ways that can be dealt with, and so we're sort of 3 months out, we've had asbestos and all sorts of things, but all that goes out the door because just after we started, the first cruise ship was booked, land in Whangarei, and 2 weeks after we went to finish.
Right.
So, yeah, so the pressure's on. But no, it's good. Like it's Hundertwasser's theory, the interesting thing about it is everything's random. So he'd take buildings like this and call them architecturally handicapped, and his theory is all about, he's an artist, and it was all about taking it back to nature, so curves and you know, like, so, and I suppose the word that resonated with me was random. So if you're in the bush, you look at a punga tree there and a punga tree there, they're the same species, brother and sister, but they're not identical. So everything's random. So if you're in a space like this, or outside, or one space, you can't look around and see the same detail twice.
Right.
So if you're in a cafe, there's a cafe in there, the chairs can't be the same. You can't see, no two chairs can be the same, the tables can't be the same. If you look around, that door handle can't be the same as that one.
Wow.
So the whole thing's got to be
Must have been a really easy
random.
job to price then. Yeah?
Yeah, well.
Nothing's the same.
Yeah. So, no, well,
any QSs in the room going, sounds like a nightmare?
Yeah, well, what they actually did in part, that was another part of the appeal, because right from the start, even with residential people, we'd go along and meet them where, you know, and basically interview them and see whether we want to work with them or not, you know. And but this one, from a pricing point of view, they did the right thing, and they provided a schedule of quantities. So basically what they do is they tell us how much concrete and steel and whatever's going to be in it. So they take the risk on the quantity, and then we put a rate against it. So we say it's going to be X amount of dollars to buy a cubic metre of concrete, pump it into place, and so on and so forth. Right. So we take the risk on the rate, and they take the risk on the quantity. So that's a balanced risk profile, which is big at the moment with all these big companies tipping over, and the risk is disproportionate.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it was a good approach by them. Otherwise, no one would have priced that, or you'd bang an extraordinary amount of money on to cover the risk.
Put the big fat in. Yeah,
you have to. Yeah.
And why were you so keen for Trigg to be involved in this project particularly?
It wasn't so much a recognition. No, well, it was, I suppose. It was, but in the provinces, you don't often get the opportunity to demonstrate capability. Okay, so there was a $10 million mental health unit at Whangarei Hospital that was built. Mainzeal built it. We could have done it, but you don't get the opportunity. So the procurement, the registration of interest, said, how many of these have you done in the last 5 years? Right. So it cuts all the local guys out. Well, this is an ideal opportunity to for us to be able to demonstrate capability. And that was really, so, you know, there's nothing, it's a community project, there's really nothing in it for us bar 2 years of the spotlight being on us sort of just about globally. That we have demonstrated capability, and it will lead on to bigger things going forward.
I imagine there'll be immense brand value going forward for you.
Yeah. It's like a big loss leader, like the biggest loss leader you could ever grab hold of.
Is it going to be a loss leader for you?
No. We'll still make money out of it, but not a great deal.
Good. I was about to take you aside to slap you for a minute. That's good.
No, there's certainly, you know, they didn't want to hang anyone out to dry.
Got it.
You know, but we went into it. Not lean, we went into it to make money out of it, but certainly with more of that thing of demonstrating capability, building brand and all that,
And knowing how much it can bring to the community as well. So I think we know that the Arts Centre is going to bring, you know, you mentioned cruise ships, so it's going to be one of those things that starts bringing more to the community. And, you know, who knows where that might lead in terms of other people going, oh, well, now that that's there and now we've got a influx of new people coming, what else might we be able to build, and what other projects might you get aligned with, and you guys will be there going front and centre, hey, we've done that one, we've got the capability, we've got the people. Let's grab the next.
The interesting thing about it is we're not building anything bar an experience, and that's hard to get your head around, you know, like, so when you walk into this thing, or you walk into I wouldn't say the toilets, but you're looking around and it's like a sense of wonder that everything's different, and you're like, never would have thought of that, you know. And so we're actually building an experience, not a building. So it's quite a different approach.
And is that unique to this because it is such a unique building, or do you try to take that philosophy into every project that you do?
Every project we do, yeah. So, you know, like quite often when we're talking to people, it's like a building is an innate object, I suppose, but it's a facilitator of experience. So homes are facilitators of, you know, like family and barbecues and whatever it is. So it's trying to capture that experience that people are going to use the building for, to understand what they want out of it. And so we spend quite a bit of time, so typically, we can talk about that later, but you know, our partnership stuff, typically we try and understand what the experience is going to be that they want out of it, and then work backwards from that to the building, because the building's only the facilitator of it. Yeah, it can look cool and it's got to be dry and healthy and warm and whatever, but what do you actually, you know, the last thing you want is them to constantly be thinking, shit, I wish we didn't do that, you know. So if you can if you can totally understand what they want to use it for, then you can get a heck of a lot closer to getting it right.
Yeah, and what we talked about before of the why versus the what. You know, the what is I need a building. The why is the experience piece. So queuing into that with your customers early about why they want this. Yeah, huge change.
Yeah, and I mean, even, you know, like we've done everything from ambulance stations to retail to schools, whatever. And you know, like some of the industrial stuff we do, I'll be talking to them and saying, well, yep, we're going to build kayaks, or we're going to whatever it is, or widgets. Well, what are you going to do? What's your business going to look like in 20 years' time? And they're like, what do you mean? You know, but if we allow for their business to expand in 20 years' time, then chunk it back to today, build that, and they can grow into it. You know, so it's sort of looking that far ahead and helping them out. And we've even rejigged businesses, you know, like a manufacturing, aluminium boat manufacturer wanted a horseshoe-shaped building, and I said, well, if you get a real long one, it's simpler to build, more cost-effective, and you can just go in and out of each bay like that. And he said, that'll work perfectly. Right. Be a hell of a lot easier than what we got.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So just understanding what they want without telling them how to suck eggs. A building can create all sorts of different ways of doing stuff.
Nice.
So that's sort of what our focus is, yeah.
Okay. So today's theme, we've talked about passion and purpose and partnerships. Yep. So what makes you passionate about what you do?
I just think that the delivering the results that people are after or exceeding them is the most important, but it's more the experience. You know, it's more the experience, because I know that the way the partnership model or whatever that we use, non-tendering, you know, like tendering is, you can still do what we do and meet the Public Finances Act test. It all stacks up, you know. So I think, you know, there's plenty of people I know very well. There's plenty of people I know that we've missed out on the work, and they said, geez, I wish we had I can see what you were talking about now. It's too late.
Right, yeah.
You know, so we're acting in your best interest, and I think, you know, the industry's been pretty good. The construction industry's had a few shysters in it, which makes people gun shy. You know, they think they're going to get ripped off, and there's quite a few that have done that. Yeah. And it hasn't helped, you know, so...
So starting off the relationship with how can I screw you down the most, that doesn't build a great relationship to start with?
No.
It doesn't? Okay.
No,
okay. Yeah. Is there some industry learnings that we need out there maybe? So Darrell, tell us about your partnership model and how you think about partnering with people. Yeah,
so that's probably, I think, the key to everything we do. Like, we still do tender, like you can't absolutely get away from it, you know, because government will, you know, like government and lots of people will always go to tender, but it's actually picking the ones where you've probably got the best opportunity of making a difference. So what we do is sit down with, either we can get a designer or their design team, you know, like the three people, in simplistic form, the three people are the client understanding what they want out of it or how they want to use it. The consultants and the design team manage compliance as far as I'm concerned, and from our point of view, we're the ones that do buildability and operability. So we're the ones that, you know, like because if a building goes up and it leaks, they don't call the architects, they'll call us. You know, so what we focus on, so if we start from scratch, from an empty pad and say, what do you want? And it may be that you're the building owner and you're the tenant, and so we'll be talking to the tenant, but understanding what they want out of it, but also if they lasted only 5 years instead of 12, you still need a building that you can lease out, right? So our main interest is yours,
Yes.
as the landlord, but still trying to make life easy for the tenant. So, but you know, like so the partnering thing is partnering up with all these people and starting from scratch. And as we move through the process, it's quite deliberate in its steps. So nothing happens and money doesn't get spent where until they sign off all the way through. But you solve all the problems. So if you're talking with the design and compliance guys, the builders, and the all that, and the client, you're solving all the issues. So by the time you get to actually getting it down on paper, ready for consent and all that, and building it, most of the issues are gone.
Right. So it's really the collaborative approach is what's most important in that partnering model?
Absolutely. And it manages a lot of the risk and all that. So
And do you get resistance to that? Do you get designers or architects coming in going, "Hey, buddy, you're just going to build the thing, just like get back in your spot and we'll handle this"?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you deal with that?
Oh, I think it's trying to help them understand what the outcomes are. Like the benefits of doing it are huge, but it's a hard sell. It's a real hard sell. We've got a key client that we've got up north that we just keep building buildings for. They've got an extraordinary amount of land. And they need to put buildings on, and we're right in there helping them out, and they know the value of it.
They truly see you as a partner, not as a construction company.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But at the end of the day, with a lot of the architects and all that, they do talk it, but not a lot of them walk it. Which is frustrating. But it's a real hard sell, and we'll walk away from it. Rather than take a project on if they don't, if they don't want to be part of it. Because there's just going back to how much risk there is involved for us as a company.
Yeah.
All the problems arise once you're on site and you start figuring them out. But if you can do that together, all sitting around a table, it makes a heck of a difference.
Okay. So, what's your genius in the business? You personally, what do you bring to the table?
I think the big picture thinking, definitely. We've got a small team. There's 6 of us off the tools, and so the way it's sort of structured is we've got the site guys and site managers, then we've got project managers that look after the site guys, and I look after the whole lot. So, and it's about troubleshooting. So I sort of troubleshoot the project managers' problems. They troubleshoot the site guys' problems. So, but definitely the big picture. We've got a QS. David, I think, in our office, he gets pretty frustrated with me because he's, extremely good at his job, but I think QS thinks a bit different to big picture thinker. So I'm all over the show, coming up with great ideas and all the rest of it, and frustrating the heck out of him. But
is anyone feeling in alignment here with maybe some of these relationships that go on in the office? Yeah, Christopher, thank you for being so honest. Kieran, we see the look on your face. Yeah, and this is in the active management program for those of you that have done the module when we're looking at your style, and we talked about pioneers and guardians and integrators and drivers. You're a classic pioneer, right? You're a big thinker.
Right.
QSs, I'll be generalist here, so don't shoot me, but generalists, they're more likely to be in the guardian zone. They're very, very good with detail.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Guardians and pioneers, by design, they clash. Because the pioneers are out there going, what's my big idea? How can we get this? Let's do that. And the guardians going, well, what are the 487 steps that are going to get us there?
Yeah.
And neither of those approaches are wrong. But as organisations, we need to appreciate that we've got those different personalities and different styles in our group.
Yeah, well, we moved down from Whangarei to Ruakaka, Marsden Point, where we are now, 14 years ago. And when we moved, I said I had a 15-year view that nothing would happen for 15 years at least, and it would just start to get traction. And the idea was, in that 15 years, to just become part of the furniture of the in the community and all that. Yeah, and just build relationships. And just tick away, you got to get work, but build relationships, and then when the bubble bursts, you're away. Yeah,
and building relationships is one of those things that we all go, oh yeah, got to build relationships, got to network, do all these things. What does it actually look like on a week to week, month to month basis for you to build relationships?
It's actually about like holding your hand up and doing stuff. So I'm on the local economic development group and all that sort of thing. So it's getting into places that give you opportunities that you wouldn't actually normally get access to. So the local economic development group is all about opportunities that come into the area and people that are coming into the area, helping them out and whatever. So you know, we've had meetings with Shane Jones and all sorts of things, you know, so we haven't got any money yet, but no, but
he's too busy delivering the 100,000 Kiwi built houses.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So so it's definitely about going and doing that things, getting into areas that you know, like there's change of commerce and all that sort of stuff. But I think local, you know, our focus is pretty relatively narrow in that area. We're sort of trying to defend it with all we can.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's there's all sorts of groups that you can get on, but it's mainly that and just getting out and meeting people. So
it looks like hard work, right? Because you know, the offering your time to those kind of things, they're very rarely paid positions. Takes a lot of time. Yeah, it takes a lot of time and effort. So it actually looks like hard work. So building relationships is not just something that happens by accident. It's being prepared to go and put the time and effort.
Yeah, and it's got to be deliberate. You've got to do it in a reasonably organised way, you know, and sort of just keep in touch with people without annoying the hell out of them. You know, keep in touch with them on a regular basis, which I sort of do and sort of don't. But yeah.
Okay.
It is hard work.
How do you think about the partnering with your subcontractors? Obviously, a big part of construction. How do you think about the partner model with them?
Same deal. So we get them on board right at the start and just work through stuff. So we've basically got a key set of subcontractors that we work with. And, you know, we're fairly disciplined about, you know, stuff like health and safety and all that. I think we're probably one of the more disciplined ones up north. We've got some pretty high standards and we stick to them. And I think that's one thing that we've said to the guys right from the start is if you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't back out on it, you know.
Don't have half an integrity circle?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Health and safety's a tough gig because it's so subjective. You know, in the construction industry, what the WorkSafe guys say is something and someone else will say, and there's all these independent consultants and all that do a great job, but it's so subjective. There's no real hard and fast rules. There's a new sort of term they've got on what's reasonable, you know, and what does that mean? Yeah.
And that's the one that's always been a challenge for me when they talk about law. You know, was it reasonable cause or whatever? And you're like, it's open to interpretation in a big way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
What does success look like for you, both personally and for the business? How do you think about and measure your success?
I suppose personally, it's just spending time with the family and doing stuff because with Kieran, you know, we're on the directors of Registered Master Builders as well, so there's all sorts of other things. For me, that's personal development. You know, really enjoy that environment. Learn lots from some pretty clever people. So success personally, I think, is getting the right amount of time off. As I said, we only program our
5 days.
Projects 5 days, but we don't even go into the office on the weekend, you know. So, and I think business success, you know, our exit strategy, I suppose, for the business, we're sort of looking at maybe getting someone in eventually, but it's our name on the door. And I mean, our goal is really to use it to create a passive income over the next sort of 10 years or whatever. And then we can step aside whether we can get someone in or not. But you know, I think the development of the guys, you know, we've just taken on a new project manager, fantastic, you know, individual, and he's sort of a month in, and you know, really stretching us as well, and that was the whole idea.
Yeah, great.
You know, take us
Hired
to the next
for,
level.
Capability, not capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Damn right. Yeah.
Spot on. Guys, I'm going to ask any questions from the floor shortly, so get your questions ready. What's been a breakthrough for you personally? You know, if you think about the time, you know, on open to it being a personal insight or a business one. What's been a moment that you feel like's been a breakthrough for you?
I suppose personally, it was when I got stuck into the stair climbing, and you know, had to lose quite a substantial amount of weight over a short period of time to get into it, and then reasonably well held that.
So how close are you to your racing weight at the moment?
About a couple of kilos off. Yeah.
Right.
So
the walk up the Sky Tower will take care of that, won't it? Drop a couple of kilos.
Hope so. Yeah, but
all
I mean,
gear on, all that heat.
You know,
Like
everyone wants to be a bit lighter, but I mean, I'm quite happy to climb up as I am. But you know, If you put a bag on your back with 5 kilos in it, it'd be great to take it off just as easy.
Yeah. It's like all these cyclists that go out and spend another 20 grand on their carbon fibre bike, so they're like their bike's 200 grams lighter. Like, dude, just lose a couple of kilos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You'll be able to ride your LA20. Be worth
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And I think from a business perspective, without sounding like an advert for you guys,
No, go on.
Britta, our
Yes.
business coach, is fantastic. You know, she's helped out immensely, and you know, even just lately employing this guy. How do we go about it? You know, all that sort of thing. So just that third party look-in's been fantastic. So that's been really, really helpful.
Brilliant. Good to hear. Alrighty, questions from the floor. Come on, people. Here we go. Come on, Ben.
So you talked about, you know, the motivations that you had for taking on the big arts projects in
Yes.
the area and things like that. How's that affected your guys and their motivations and their morale? Obviously, construction, you have difficult moments through your projects and things like that. Do they buy into that sort of being motivated by that type of project and things like that in the long term?
Good question. Yep. Yeah, the project in itself is one that it's something that you'll never ever see again, and it's a real complex thing to construct, and it's something that if you wanted to construct a building in this country cost effectively, you wouldn't do it like that. Like, it's all solid poured. But so from initially, everyone's excited about it and all that. Once you start getting into the hard graft, things are a bit different. And I think my role and what I'm pretty good at is managing relationships in that. And we've had a few tense things between what I call the outside the fence team and us inside the fence, you know, where we want information and we're not getting it. And so my role is to just sit between them and get the relationships back in gear again. And we've been doing that. And the guys are starting to understand a little bit how I roll. So the motivation's definitely there. I think it's just managing the relationships to keep it, you know, you know that, you know, it's all a bit, it's real tough, absolutely. Especially when you've got people that are a bit undergunned in their experience and they think they've got experience. You know, it makes it tough. But yeah, we've got a fantastic team. We've just got a team of 3 off the tools in the office. We've got a sort of a project manager that looks after the whole thing. We've got a construction guy that's just doing the construction stuff, all the details and ordering gear. And then we've also got a commercial manager who looks after the, you know, the claims and the variations and all that stuff, you know. And part of our MO, I suppose, is in the provinces, work can be up and down like that. So we've built relationships with a lot of smaller contractors, and we can get them in to man up a job if we need to, rather than having 20 or 30 guys on site, because the work can just disappear like that. So it's a win-win if we haven't got too much work or whatever, you know, they can go away and do other stuff. I mean, we had a set of retail shops that we were on site, fences were up, sheds were on site, it was all set out. We're just about to start cutting and digging up the asphalt, and they pulled the pin on it. So it happens. Yeah, it happens. It's hard.
And how do you deal with it? Because you know, like, you've got resources committed, you think you've got revenue banked that's going to come in. You know, emotionally, stress-wise, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it was the old stun mullet thing for a while. You're looking around for a candid camera going shit, you know. Yeah. But we just had to crack on with it, you know. Rang around, and the guys went and worked, helped out other guys for a while, and then the next job came along and we cracked on. Yeah, it's just sort of the nature of the game. You know, like
I think it's the nature of every business.
Yeah,
you know, I think if there was one trait that every business leader could have, whether you're an owner or a leader or both, I think resilience and grit, you know, they're definitely the things that are the trait that's going to win every time. Because has anyone in the room just had a perfectly smooth sail through business? No, I don't think you get many responses on that one, right? So we always get these setbacks, and it's how you deal with them which makes the difference.
My role is the people management, basically. That's what I focus on, is the people management. And if the relationships are getting strained or somewhere, I've got to get in there and sort some way to smooth the path through. It's the same in the fire brigade, you know. You get some tough stuff and all the rest of it, but it's about, fire brigade's not about fire engines and training and all that, it's about people.
Yes.
If you look after the people right and they're happy to be there, they'll do all of that stuff. So yeah.
And we talked about at the beginning the Google Aristotle project and the kind of 5 things that they found that each of the teams that were high performing had. You know, all of those are soft skills. They're all people management type elements to them. They're not hard skills. They're not technical skills. So actually just bringing the mindset as a leader to, I am a people manager and my role here is to make my team better and help them roll and be improve and grow. I think it's such a great mindset compared to others that we see that we go, people management, that's the HR department, you know, and they kind of go, it's not my responsibility, it's someone else over there. I think you're in for a challenging time in your organisation if the entire leadership is thinking that people management something can be outsourced to a department or to an external.
Yeah, I mean, my sort of thing with people management is the same as a footy coach or a hockey coach or whatever. You know, you set the rules down and then you get the team to buy into the rules and then you coach them through how to play it and then let them go. You know, I think one of the things that has really worked for us is actually trusting people to do a job and then let them do it without micromanaging it. And you know, I've been really surprised at the results. You know, people have really sort of flown ahead because certainly our key site manager, the construction guy on this project, he just said the one thing that he likes about working here is I leave him alone. You know, if he's got a problem, he rings me and we sort it out. But he manages the program and all that sort of stuff. Let him do his job. You know, so yeah.
Very
works
important.
really well.
Cool. Any other questions from the floor? This is like the once in a lifetime opportunity. The heavy hitter from Whangarei here. And you guys, you know what you're all going to do, right? You're going to be driving away going, oh, I know what, I should have asked Darrell that thing.
Look,
go on, Shona.
As people, one of the things that we're looking to do as a company is relooking at our values. So keen to hear about what the values are for your organisation and how do you bring them to life? So it's more than just a laminated sheet that sits in front of your computer. How do you bring it to life so they're living it every day and it's not just that laminated sheet of we've done our values and we've laminated it now. So how do you bring it to life?
Tell you what. If you make them outcome statements, because a value is not value as a word like integrity or whatever is just a word, and it's like. But if you make them outcome statements like doing statements, then people can actually buy into them. And a classic, if you have a look at St John's website and look at their values, they're sentences. They're not like we do the right thing and all sorts of stuff like that. But they're sentences and they really resonate. You know, so the things that people can relate to, because a word is so subjective. But if you put it in a sentence and say, you know, we act in whatever, not we act with integrity, but you know what I mean. So if you make them outcome statements, so how does our business want to be seen, or how do we act within it? That's a really good way of doing it, and that's what we've done. You know, we've got about 6 or 7 of them. The reason why I'm dancing around them is I can't remember them off the top of my head. So,
let me give an example. We worked with another construction company a while ago, and very same thing. They kind of outcome statements, but also putting in a language that resonated with their team. And one of their statements was "Don't take the piss," and it resonated really well with the team. And it was language that the guys could use on site. So if someone was going, oh, I might just take those couple of bits of 4x2 home for the weekend because I've got a bit of a job that I'm doing at home, someone else had language to go, hey mate, it's taking the piss, like that's actually not yours. Go down to the yard and buy your own. So I think getting them into a language that works for your team is really useful as well.
The fire service have just gone through a massive review, and they're starting to have amalgamated a whole lot of people, and they had a set of values which were just words, and I put a submission in which was, I said, look at St John's, I used it as an example. I said they're actually sentences that are relatable, and you know, anyone at any level of the organisation can look at it and go, yep, I get that. And they took it on board and they've implemented it. So yeah, so I found them really, really good, and that's what we've come up with our own. But yeah, making it more of an outcome statement or an activity statement that you can buy into is a heck of a lot easier.
So how do we, you know, and this is a kind of question for everyone, probably all of us have either in our own organisations right now or previously we've been through some kind of values situation. How do we keep them alive? How do we stop them going that, oh yeah, they were so good, we got them sorted, we love them, they're brilliant, 6, 7 statements, job done, awesome. How do we not make sure they don't get dust on them? Because what's the importance of values? Why do we want to align? Because we want to live them, right? So how do we make sure that we live our values day to day? How do we keep them alive? So is this, nice.
Well, no, because I was just going to say on the St. John example, I know the person who put those values in place, and I think part of it started not just having values, but what they did beforehand when they got focus groups and they got key people within St. John, and not just managers and people that sit at the top of the tree, but right across the business involved in terms of ideas around what values could look like. Then it went out, they do love to consult to the wider organisation, came back, and so there was a lot of buy-in before, you know, the posters went on the wall, I guess, so to speak.
But
It was a long project, it took them months.
Yeah.
I think they just make sense.
Yeah.
They're really simple and they make sense.
Yeah. But I think here, you know, keeping them alive, it's often people will do some sort of recognition or reward around them. So if you're wanting people to live the values, then you're asking people to be seen to be doing them. And so if you can call out peers who you see as living those values, then it's much better than a manager going, I think you've done a great job.
Yep, spot on. We use one at the Breakthrough, we talk about being on brand. So that's like in everything that we do, our check-in is that on brand, and what sits behind our brand is our values and what we're trying to achieve. But again, it's kind of language that everyone in our team understands, so we can go, oh, was that on brand? Was that action on brand? Was that event on brand? Was that workbook on brand? You know, we kind of get the sense of how that aligns with our values, and it's something that's very easy for us to go, you know what, we didn't nail that, that's not aligned with how we want to be operating. So that wasn't on brand for us, so that's one that we use. Nat, did you have a question?
Yeah, within your construction business, as opposed to your family or private, what's your passion, and do you think about how that passion drives you? And how often do you think about how that passion drives you?
For me, it's the thrill of the chase. It's the thrill of the chase. So how, you know, like to convert someone to our way of thinking in respect of this partnership model and all that, it's actually the deliberate steps in everything we take to convert them. So it's you know, if someone's adamant that they're going to go to tender, we can't add any value to that process. So we basically step away from it. You know, like we are going to tender something that's only just around the corner from us coming up soon, but we've got a pretty good chance at it. But yeah, it's the thrill of the chase. That's what I really like. Yeah.
And how often do you actually think about that? You know, to make sure you get out of bed and you go work the big positive spring instead.
Yeah, all the time. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's really my role. I mean, we've got a really good team, and they chew through the work really quick. You know, it'll take me 18 months to 24 months to get a 4-month job on site. So I have to constantly be at it, you know, or a 6-month job or an 8-month job, you know. So when you go through this whole long process from, hi, how are you, nice to meet you, Mr. and Mrs. whatever, and right through to when we start construction, so that could be 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, we've got one that's 6 years in at the moment, we haven't started building yet, so it's, it'll happen, yeah. Yeah.
Very good. If anyone, no final questions, look, Darrell, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being so open about what you do and how you operate. I know some really good insights for me, and I just want to thank you as a member of our community. You bring such positivity to what we do. Your attitude is amazing, and your willingness to listen to ideas from outside your organisation, then take them on board and implement them is just brilliant. So thanks very much.
Cool.
Give me yours.
Yes.